All right, let's take a look at some examples of graphing linear equations. So remember, you want to identify your y-intercept, which in this case is 1, and your slope, which in this case is 2/3. Then you're going to begin with your y-intercept. So I'm going to come to my y-axis and put a point on 1. And then you're going to move the way the slope tells you to move. This is a positive slope, so that means I am going to move up 2 and right 3 from my y-intercept. So starting at my y-intercept, I'm going to move up 2, 1, 2, and right 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's where I place my new point. Okay, then you just take your straight edge and you draw your straight line, extending it all the way throughout. Hopefully you remember this. Okay, let's take a look at a second example here. This one says y equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. So my y-intercept is negative 2 and my slope is negative 2/3. So that means now I'm going to begin with my y-intercept at negative 2. I'm going to put a point here on negative 2. And then I'm going to move the way my slope tells me. It's negative, so that means I'm going to move down 2 and right 3. Okay? Remember, negative tells you to move down, but you still move to the right. Positive tells you to move up, but you still move to the right. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to move down 2, 1, 2, and to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and there is my new point. And again, you take your straight edge and you make your straight line, making sure to extend it all the way. All right, let's take a look at a third example. Now this one is going to be a little tricky. So I just talked about that you always move right, correct? But let's take a look at what's happening here with this particular equation. Y equals negative 7/5 x minus 3. So you see that your y-intercept is negative 3 and that our slope is negative 7/5. So let's place a point on negative 3 for y. Here's my point right here. And so if I think about my slope says move down 7 and right 5. But if you look, all right, we only got 2 more lines of y going down from this point of negative 3. I can't go down 7 on this graph. I just don't have room, right? So what do you do when you have that situation? So I've told you never move left, correct? But this is a special case. The special case here is I ran out of room. I cannot move down 7 and right 5. So when you run into this kind of situation, what you want to do is you want to move backwards. Okay? Since I can't move down 7 and right 5, I have to move backwards. So how do you move backwards? Well, when you move backwards, what you do is the exact opposite of what your slope tells you to do. So the exact opposite of down 7 and right 5 is going to be up 7 and left 5. And so you'll see what happens here. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go up 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and left 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here is where I place my new point. Okay? So if this is confusing to you, let's take a look at this line real quick. You'll see that the original slope here is negative 7/5, right? That means down 7, right 5. So if I follow from this point here down to this point here, look at what happens. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm going to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see, even though we went backwards and we had to use this trick of up 7 and left 5, our line does still follow a slope of down 7, right 5. The only reason we went up and left was because we ran out of room down here at the bottom. All right, let's take a look at another example like this. Right over here. So let's take a look at this equation here, y equals 3 over 2x plus 3. My y-intercept is positive 3, and my slope is 3 over 2. So I'm going to begin with my y-intercept of 3, so I'm going to put a point here on 3. And then I'm going to move the way my slope tells me to move. It says move up 3 and right 2, correct? But look again, I don't have room to move up 3. I only have room to take 2 more steps, not 3 more steps. You're not going to add your own lines at the top. You're not going to do that, okay? So don't try to think of it that way. So since I don't have room to move up 3, I'm going to have to go backwards, which means I have to do the opposite of up 3, right 2. What's the opposite of up 3, right 2? It is down 3, left 2. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and left 2, 1, 2. And that places my new point. And I actually have room to do it again. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And so when I make my line here, and I extend it, again, the only reason we did this, we went backwards, was because we didn't have room to move the way the slope tells us at the top here. So we had to go backwards. But if you look very carefully, you can see again that this line does follow the proper slope. If I go from this point to this point here, I'm going up 1, 2, 3, and to the right 2, which is the slope. Again, to this point, I'm going up 1, 2, 3, and to the right 2. So this line does have the correct slope. All right, let's take a look at 2 more examples. So if we look at this example here, this equation is not in slope-intercept form. So remember, in order to graph in slope-intercept form, we need to make sure our equation is in slope-intercept form. So we need to take this negative 5x, and we need to take it and put it right here in between the equal sign and negative 9. And remember, whenever you cross to the other side of an equation, you have to change the sign. So this here becomes 3y equals positive 5x minus 9. And then in order to put this in slope-intercept, I need to divide everything by 3. So I get the equation here, y equals 5/3 x minus 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph this. My y-intercept is negative 3, and my slope is 5/3. So that's going to be up 5 and right 3. So my y-intercept's at negative 3. Am I going to have to use the trick? No, because I do have room to move up 5 and right 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. And there is my new point, and I can make my line. Okay, last example. This one here. 3x plus 2y equals 8. So again, this equation is not in slope-intercept form, so I need to convert it. I need to move this 3x right here, which means that it's going to move to the other side of the equation and become a negative 3x. So this is going to say 2y equals negative 3x plus 8. Then I need to divide everything by 2. And I get y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 4. Okay, so place my y-intercept at positive 4. And my slope here is negative 3 over 2. So my slope means, right, my y-intercept, sorry, is 4. My slope is negative 3 over 2. So that means I'm going to move down 3 and right 2. So I do have room to do that here, so I don't need to use the trick again. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And there is my new point, and I think I have room to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And there's my new point. And so there's our graph. All right. Remember, again, if we go back to this problem here, okay, The only time you ever want to go left is if you don't have room to move the slope the way it tells you to move. Then what you have to do is you have to go backwards. You have to work backwards, which means you do the exact opposite of what the slope tells you to do. All right, I hope this helps, and I hope you understand this.